The world of K-pop has always been built on structure. Clear roles, defined positions, leaders who guide, members who follow, and a system that has shaped some of the biggest global acts in music history. But every once in a while, something changes. Not suddenly, not officially, not announced, just slowly. And in recent months, fans around the world have started asking a question that once felt unthinkable. Is Jungkook becoming something more than just BTS's golden maknae? Is he quietly stepping into a role no one expected? Not by title, but by presence. And if so, what does that mean for BTS's future? Since their debut, BTS has been led by one figure, Kim Namjoon, known globally as RM, the leader. He was the translator, the spokesperson, the bridge between BTS and the world. The one who stood in front of microphones, handled pressure, and carried responsibility that went far beyond music. And for years, that structure never changed. It didn't need to, because BTS wasn't just a group, it was a system built on balance. Each member had a role, each member had a voice. And Jungkook? He was the youngest, the golden maknae. Talented in everything, loved by everyone, but always the one who followed, learned, and grew under the guidance of his older members. Or at least, that's how it started. Time changes everything. And for Jungkook, time didn't just pass, it transformed him. From a shy teenager who once admitted he relied on his members for everything, to a global superstar standing on his own. His solo career marked a turning point. When his album Golden was released, the impact was immediate. Global charts, international recognition, massive streaming numbers, collaborations with Western artists. But more importantly, something else changed. The way people saw him. He was no longer just the youngest member of BTS, he was a force, a center, a global icon. And with that came something bigger. The military era changed BTS. For the first time since their debut, the group paused. Activities slowed. Individual paths became more visible. And when the members began returning, the question wasn't just, when will BTS come back? It was, what will BTS look like now? Because time doesn't just pause a group, it reshapes it. Fans began noticing subtle differences in confidence, in tone, in presence. And for Jungkook, those differences were impossible to ignore. Every group has a center. Not always officially, but visually, musically, energetically. And over the years, Jungkook has increasingly stood at that center. In performances, he often holds key parts. In international promotions, his name carries weight. In international recognition, he consistently stands at the forefront. But being a center isn't just about visibility, it's about responsibility. And fans began to notice something unusual. Jungkook wasn't just at the center anymore, he was holding it. No official announcement ever started this conversation. Instead, it came from small moments fans couldn't ignore. During group interactions, Jungkook speaking more confidently. During live broadcasts, guiding conversations. During interviews, stepping in naturally without hesitation. And sometimes, the way other members looked at him. Not as the youngest, but as an equal, as someone they trusted. These weren't dramatic changes, they were subtle. But in K-pop, subtle shifts often mean everything. Here's the truth. Leadership isn't always about position. It's about influence. It's about presence. It's about who people naturally follow, even when no one tells them to. And in many ways, Jungkook has begun to show that kind of leadership, not by replacing anyone, but by expanding the dynamic. Because BTS has never been a group built on hierarchy, it has always been built on connection. And connection evolves. Online communities started to change. Discussions that once focused on music and performances began to shift towards something deeper. Jungkook feels different lately. He's more confident. He's taking more initiative. And then the question appeared. Quiet at first, then louder. Is Jungkook becoming a leader? Not officially, but emotionally, symbolically. And the debate began. Not everyone agrees. For many fans, RM's role as leader is untouchable, and for good reason. His leadership has been one of the core pillars of BTS's success. His communication, his responsibility, his presence. These things don't change, and they shouldn't. But others see something different. Not a replacement, but an evolution. A group where leadership is shared, where different members lead in different ways. And in that structure, Jungkook's role becomes something new. Maybe this isn't about replacing a leader, maybe it's about redefining what leadership means. In a group like BTS, leadership isn't a single position. It's a balance. Others lead with creativity, others with emotion. And Jungkook? He may be leading with presence, with performance, with global influence. And that kind of leadership doesn't need a title. As BTS prepares for its next chapter, one thing is clear. Nothing will be exactly the same. Not because something is ending, but because something is evolving. Jungkook is no longer just the youngest. He's no longer just the golden maknae. He's something more. Something that continues to grow, quietly. And whether or not he is becoming a new leader, the real question might be, is BTS entering an era where leadership is no longer just one role, but a shared identity? Silence can be comforting, but in the world of global stardom, silence can also be terrifying. And right now, the silence surrounding Jungkook doesn't feel normal. It feels intentional. Since his last known activity tied to BTS, there has been a noticeable gap, not just in official schedules, but in presence. No spontaneous live streams, no unexpected updates, no playful interactions that once defined his connection with fans. And ARMY has noticed, not just the absence, but the difference. Because this isn't the Jungkook they remember. This is someone quieter, more distant, more controlled. And that raises a question no one can ignore anymore. Is this silence a break or a transition? Some fans believe Jungkook is simply focusing on himself after years of relentless schedules. Others believe something bigger is happening behind the scenes. Because in the entertainment industry, silence is rarely empty. It's usually filled with preparation. Whenever something feels off in the world of BTS, one name inevitably comes into the conversation. HYBE. The agency that helped BTS build into a global phenomenon is now facing a different kind of attention, one driven not by success, but by scrutiny. Fans have started asking difficult questions. Why the lack of updates? Why the shift in tone? Why does everything feel so calculated? Some believe HYBE is carefully planning Jungkook's next move, crafting something so massive that it requires complete silence. Others aren't so sure. They point to patterns, how information is released, how schedules are managed, how narratives are shaped. And in that pattern, some fans feel a growing distance between artist and audience. But here's the truth. No one outside those walls knows what's really happening. And that uncertainty is what fuels the speculation. Because when answers don't exist, theories take their place. If there's one constant in Jungkook's story, it's this. The fans never leave. Even in silence, even in uncertainty, ARMY remains. Across social media, fans continue to share memories, analyze old content, and search for clues, anything that might hint at what's coming next. Some revisit past live streams, others dissect interviews. Many simply wait, because for them, Jungkook isn't just an artist, he's a presence, a connection, a part of their daily lives. And that connection doesn't disappear just because the updates stop. In fact, for many, it becomes stronger, more emotional, more personal. Because absence doesn't always weaken attachment. Sometimes it deepens it. And that's exactly what's happening now. In the world of K-pop, comebacks are everything. They're not just releases, they're moments. And when it comes to Jungkook, expectations are unlike anything else. Because this isn't just another artist, this is someone who has already proven he can dominate globally, whether through music, performance, or sheer presence. So when fans think about his return, the question isn't if it will be big, it's how big. Will it be a solo project, a collaboration, a full group comeback with BTS, or something completely unexpected? Because if there's one thing Jungkook has shown over the years, it's this. He doesn't follow expectations. He rewrites them. And that's what makes this moment so unpredictable. Because whatever comes next, it won't be ordinary. At the center of all the speculation, all the silence, all the anticipation, there is one question that refuses to go away. Who is Jungkook becoming? Not the idol, not the performer, but the person. Because growth changes everything. And Jungkook has been through more than most. Global fame, intense pressure, constant scrutiny. Those experiences don't leave you unchanged. They shape you, they evolve you, and sometimes they lead you somewhere completely new. So when he returns, and he will return, the real story won't just be about music, it will be about transformation. Because the Jungkook who comes back may not be the same Jungkook who left. And that's what makes this moment so powerful and so uncertain.